Hey there, and welcome to Family Revenge. We're so glad you're here. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can stay with us for every twist and turn. Let's jump right in. It's Dad's 65th birthday, and the house looks like every other family party we've had. Balloons are strung up haphazardly, streamers curl around the doorways, and the cake sits on the counter, untouched. It's the same as always, except this time, I'm not looking forward to it. I'm dreading it. The tension's already there, thick in the air, and I can't shake it. Everyone's gathered around the living room, chatting and laughing like they don't know what's coming. My brother Todd's pacing a little too much, his grin too wide. He's got something up his sleeve, and I know it's going to suck for me. Todd's the golden boy, the one who got the high-paying job, the perfect wife, the two adoring kids. Me? I'm 32, still living at home with mom and dad after a divorce that still stings. I know the family sees me as the disappointment. Todd clears his throat, and the room quiets, waiting for him to drop whatever bomb he's been working up to. His eyes gleam like he's about to announce he found a cure for cancer. Big changes coming for the family, he says, that smug grin stretched across his face. I sit back, bracing for it. I can already feel my stomach twist. My parents lean forward, eyes locked on Todd. They hang on his every word. Here it comes. Whatever it is, it's not going to be good for me. I know it, and no one's going to see it. Not them, not Todd. I wait for the blow to land. Todd puffs up his chest like he's about to announce world peace. So Heather and I have been talking, he starts, voice oozing that confident tone of his. And we think it's time for mom and dad to move in with us, closer to where we live, out in the suburbs. I'm thinking a new place. Big house, in-law suite, maybe a pool for the kids. Everyone leans forward, nodding like they've just heard the greatest idea in the history of the world. Mom's eyes light up, and Dad's nodding along like he's already packing up the garage. I want to scream. I want to shove the cake off the table and say, "This isn't a birthday party. This is just Todd pulling the rug out from under everyone again," but I don't. I stay quiet, feeling that familiar burn in my chest. Todd's grinning like he just solved world hunger. He leans back, hands clasped, looking around the room like he's waiting for applause. "I've been thinking about it a lot," he says, still smiling. "I mean, it's really the best move for everyone. I can help out more with the kids, and mom and dad won't have to worry about anything." He pauses, looking around the room for confirmation. And then it hits me, the words I've been dreading. "We'll sell the house," Todd says, all casual, like he's talking about a yard sale. "And we'll find a place that works for everyone." My stomach drops. The house I grew up in, the house I've been living in since my divorce, because it's all I have left. I can't breathe for a second. I thought I could escape, slip away unnoticed in all this noise, but no. Not now. Not here. Mom and Dad exchange a quick look, and then they both nod like they're all in, no hesitation. Todd's got them hooked, and the rest of the family's on board too. It's like they've forgotten about me entirely, like I don't even exist in this conversation. I can feel the blood rush to my face, my heart pounding in my ears. My hands are cold, but my chest is burning. I open my mouth to speak, but Todd doesn't even let me. He turns to me, that smug grin still plastered across his face. "Well, I guess it's time for you to move out, huh?" His voice is light, like he's offering me a new toy. For a split second, everything stops. The sound of conversation dies. The laughter from the living room fades. It's just me and Todd, like the rest of the world's disappeared. My body's gone numb. I stare at him, my brother, the golden child, the one who's always been first, the one everyone's always applauded for his perfect life, the one who's never had to fight for anything. The words are stuck in my throat. I want to ask, "Do you even care?" I want to shout, "What about me?" But I don't. I just sit there, frozen, watching him look around the room, waiting for everyone to tell him how smart he is. No one asks if I'm okay. No one wonders if I have a place to go. The whole room is too busy celebrating Todd's genius. It's like I'm invisible, like my entire existence is nothing more than a footnote in his perfect life. My heart's racing, my mind's spinning. The house is being sold, my home, and no one even cares. I feel like the ground's been pulled out from under me, like the life I've built here is nothing. I want to stand up and scream that I'm not just some afterthought. But instead, I sit there, feeling smaller than I ever have. I couldn't stay in there any longer. The noise, the excitement, the way everyone was just eating up Todd's plan, it was suffocating. I stood up without a word, walking past them all, feeling their eyes on me. I didn't care. I had to get out. The air outside hit me like a cold slap. I walked to the edge of the yard, standing at the fence with my hands gripping the wooden slats. My chest was tight, my mind spinning. This wasn't just a party gone wrong. This was my life being torn out from under me. The house, my house, was being sold, and no one had even asked if I was okay. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, trying to steady myself. I hit James's number. He's the only person I trust right now. James, I need you to look something up for me, I said, my voice tight, shaky. The house, Mom and Dad's place. They're selling it. I need to know who owns it. There was a pause on the other end, and then his voice came back, calm but professional. Sure, I'll pull up the property records. Give me a sec. I waited, staring at the ground, feeling like I was about to break wide open. James came back a few minutes later. It's gone, he said. Your parents no longer own the house. What? My stomach lurched. It was foreclosed on about 14 months ago. It was sold at auction. I felt the ground under me shift. My knees wobbled. What do you mean? I don't understand. How? My voice was barely a whisper. Your parents stopped paying the mortgage. It went into foreclosure, and the house was sold. I'm looking at the records now. It was all handled by a company. They've got a new owner. My mind couldn't keep up. Anger started to flood through me, mixing with disbelief. I felt like I was choking. They didn't say anything, I asked, my breath coming faster now. No, James said, his voice softer now, like he could hear what this was doing to me. You didn't know? No, I whispered again. I didn't know. I leaned against the fence, the phone pressed to my ear. My whole body was numb, like I was outside my own skin. The anger inside me started building, fast. How could they not tell me? I'd been living in that house for over a year after the divorce, thinking I was helping, thinking I was the one holding it all together. They'd never said a word. James let me process for a moment before speaking again. I've got the full details if you want to see the paperwork. I can prepare the legal documents showing you're the rightful owner now. You've got the proof. You can stop any attempts to sell it. I closed my eyes, trying to breathe. This was all hitting me too fast. I thought I was saving them from embarrassment, saving the house from being lost. But now I felt like I'd been living in a lie. No one knew. No one except me. They had no idea. I couldn't believe it. They didn't know I'd bought the house at auction. They didn't know that the foreclosure papers hadn't been just paperwork to me, but a crisis. That when I found out they were behind on payments, I'd use my divorce settlement to save it. Because I thought they needed me. I thought I was keeping their world from falling apart. Now, I was the one left in the wreckage. Thanks, James, I said, pulling myself together. Prepare the documents. I'm going to need them. You got it, he replied, his voice firm. Just don't do anything rash. We'll handle this. I hung up and just stood there, staring out at the yard. I wasn't sure what to do next, but one thing was clear. This family was about to find out exactly what I'd been holding together all this time. I took a deep breath as I walked back into the house, the phone still clenched in my hand. The chatter was louder than before, and the topic of the conversation had shifted to remodeling ideas for Todd's perfect new house. It felt surreal, like I was watching it all happen in slow motion. They were so focused on Todd's plans, his shiny big house with the in-law suite and the pool for the kids, that they couldn't even see what was happening right in front of them. I had to stop this. I had to speak up. Now. I didn't care that all eyes would be on me. I walked straight into the living room and interrupted their endless suggestions. I need to talk, I said, my voice cutting through the noise. Todd immediately rolled his eyes, his tone dismissive. Oh, here we go. Can't you see we're... I didn't give him a chance to finish. I raised my phone and held it up, making sure everyone could see it. I spoke to my lawyer, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. The house, our house, isn't being sold. It's mine. The room froze. Everyone turned to me, their faces a mix of confusion and surprise. Todd's grin faltered, but he tried to laugh it off like I was just being dramatic. You're wrong, he said, his voice flat. That doesn't even make sense. What are you talking about? But I wasn't backing down. I bought it, Todd, I said, my words slow and deliberate. I bought the house with my divorce settlement. You know, the one you think I'm just wasting living here. It was foreclosed on, and I saved it. It's mine now. I watched their faces shift, Mom's eyes wide in shock, Dad's jaw tightening. They hadn't known. They didn't know a damn thing about what I'd been doing for the last year, and I could see it on their faces now. They were processing it, but it wasn't just surprise. There was something else, something deeper, betrayal, and maybe even guilt. Todd's smug grin evaporated, his eyes narrowing. He was trying to regain control, but I could see the anger building in him, like a storm rolling in. He opened his mouth to speak, but the words didn't come out right away. You? He took a step forward, eyes narrowing even further. You bought the house? He repeated, as if trying to wrap his head around it. Yeah, I said, my voice gaining strength. I bought the house. I kept it from being sold, from being lost. I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to embarrass you, but I'm done being your damn afterthought, Todd. This isn't just your decision. This house isn't yours to sell. For a moment, no one spoke. Todd's face twisted into something I'd never seen before. Anger, frustration, maybe a little disbelief. He couldn't wrap his mind around it. He'd always been the one everyone turned to, the one everyone applauded for his perfect life. But now, the tables had turned. I can't believe you, Todd muttered under his breath, his voice shaky. You've got to be kidding me. This is my plan, my family. You've really got to screw everything up like this? You're the one who's been screwing things up, I shot back, every word dripping with frustration. You've been running the show for years, Todd. You and your perfect little life. It's always about what you want, isn't it? And you never once thought to ask me what I needed. I'm trying to help, he spat, his face red. I'm doing what's best for Mom and Dad. I don't need you. No, I cut him off. You're doing what's best for you, and you're too busy to even notice. You think you've got everything figured out, but you don't. You never do. The silence that followed was thick, suffocating. Mom and Dad exchanged looks, but neither of them said a word. It was clear they were both too shocked to react properly, caught in the whirlwind of everything happening too fast. Todd turned to them, shaking his head, as if pleading for them to take his side. This isn't fair, he said, his voice almost pleading. This house needs to go. It's just too much, and he pointed at me, she's ruining everything. Dad's hand gripped the armrest of his chair like he was trying to keep himself steady. I could see it, his eyes darting between Todd and me, torn. For the first time, I wasn't sure who he'd choose. But then something shifted. Dad looked at me, his gaze softening just a little. Then he stood up. I choose my daughter, he said, his voice steady but firm. The one who saved our home. Mom followed, her voice quieter but just as resolute. I choose her too. She's been there for us when no one else noticed. Todd stood there, staring at them, his face turning an ugly shade of red. The smugness, the control, it was gone. All that was left was the raw, bitter truth. Fine, he spat. You've made your choice. His voice cracked slightly, but he didn't let it show. You're on your own then. Without another word, he turned and stormed out of the room, Heather following close behind. The door slammed behind them, leaving a suffocating silence in their wake. Mom and Dad stood there, uncertain. I could feel the weight of everything hanging between us. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt like I'd finally fought for myself, and won. The silence that followed Todd's exit felt suffocating, like the air had been sucked out of the room. It was thick with tension, everyone unsure of what to say next. I stood there, my heart still hammering in my chest, and watched as everything unraveled around me. Mom was the first to break. She looked like she might crumble under the weight of it all, her hand trembling as she wiped at her eyes. I didn't know, she whispered, voice cracking. I didn't know, honey. I had no idea you were keeping the house. I didn't know you were saving it. I felt a sharp pang of guilt, but it wasn't for what I'd done. It was for the way she was looking at me now, like she couldn't even recognize the daughter standing in front of her. She'd never asked, never wondered why I stayed here. She'd never questioned the way Todd took charge of everything. And now, it seemed like she couldn't wrap her mind around the truth. Mom, it's okay, I said, trying to keep my voice steady, even though I wanted to scream at her. Why didn't you see me before? But I didn't. Instead, I just watched her fall apart, feeling the guilt twist inside me. I'd done this for her, for them both. But now it was all coming undone. Heather, standing there with her arms crossed, finally spoke up, though her voice was tight, like she was trying to keep everything under control. This isn't helping anything, she said, casting a glance at the door where Todd had stormed out. We can fix this. We'll figure it out. We just need to talk. Let's not make it worse than it is. She was trying to smooth things over. But I could see the cracks in her, too. The way her eyes flicked between me and the others, like she was worried this was all going to ruin their perfect life. Like she couldn't handle anything breaking that image of success Todd had worked so hard to create. Fix it, I repeated, my voice rising without meaning to. How exactly do you plan on fixing this, Heather? By selling the house behind my back? By pretending I don't exist while Todd takes control of everything? She flinched, and I didn't care. I was done with this. Done with pretending that everything was okay when it never was. Todd's voice echoed back through the door, cutting through the tension. I could hear him in the other room, shouting at Heather, his words just loud enough for us to catch. I'm not letting her sabotage everything. This was supposed to be my plan. I could practically feel the heat of his anger. It was all about him. It had always been about him. He was the one who had to have everything go his way. I didn't even recognize the man who stood there so arrogantly moments ago, the one I used to look up to as the golden child. Now, all I saw was someone desperate to control everything, someone willing to steamroll anyone who got in his way. Mom's sobs grew louder, and I couldn't stand it. I turned toward her, my heart softening, even though I was angry, so fucking angry, inside. Mom, I said, kneeling in front of her. You didn't know, but I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. The house isn't for sale. I won't let Todd push me out of it. This is my home now. She looked at me, eyes swollen, face streaked with tears. I didn't know, honey. I didn't see what you were doing. I thought you were just, I don't know, stuck. I thought you were stuck in the past. I was stuck, I said, my voice raw. But not because of you, because of everything else. Everything Todd's made it. I've been stuck because you've never seen me, Mom. I've been invisible, and now I'm done being that. Todd's footsteps came pounding back down the hallway, and I knew he wasn't finished with his tantrum. I stood up, not caring how pissed he was anymore. I'm not asking for anything from any of you, I said, turning to face him as he burst through the door. I'm not asking you to choose me over Todd. I'm not asking you to feel guilty. I'm just telling you, this house isn't for sale. Not now. Not ever. Todd's eyes locked onto mine, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. He opened his mouth to say something, but the words caught in his throat. He didn't know how to control the situation anymore. For once, I could see that he was losing his grip on everything he thought was his. You think this is over? He sneered. You think you can just stop this? You're going to ruin everything, just like you always do. No, I said, standing tall. I'm not ruining anything. I'm standing up for myself, for once. The room was silent. The energy had shifted. I wasn't asking for anyone's approval anymore. I wasn't fighting for Todd's favor. The chaos he'd caused was unraveling in front of him, and I wasn't going to let him control it anymore. I'm done letting you push me around, I said, my voice steady now, cutting through the tension. And I'm done letting you tear this family apart. For the first time, the smugness was gone from Todd's face. He didn't know what to do with me now, didn't know how to keep the show going. He just stared at me, eyes filled with something that almost looked like fear. But I wasn't afraid anymore. Todd's face twisted with rage. I could see the wheels turning in his head, his perfect little world crumbling to pieces. This is bullshit, he spat, taking a few angry steps toward Mom and Dad. You guys need to pick sides. It's either me and my family or her. I'm done trying to fix this if you're gonna choose her. His voice was loud, desperate, like he was trying to force them into a decision. I could feel the heat radiating off him, and I knew he wasn't ready for what was about to happen. For a moment, I swear I saw something flicker in Mom's eyes, like she was wavering. The guilt was still there, hanging over her like she wasn't sure how to fix everything. But then Dad stood up. It was slow at first, like he wasn't sure how to approach this mess, but then he moved toward me. He put his hand on my shoulder, firm but gentle. I choose my daughter, he said, his voice low but sure. The one who saved our home. Mom blinked, looking between Dad and me. She took a shaky breath and, without another word, stepped toward me, too. I choose her, she said, her voice cracking but strong. The one who's always been there for us. Even when no one else noticed, I felt the weight of it, the words sinking into me like a stone in water. For the first time in my life, it wasn't just about Todd. It wasn't about his perfect job, his perfect house, or his perfect family. It was about me. I mattered. Todd's face went from red to purple in the blink of an eye. He took a step back, hands balled into fists at his sides. You've made your choice then, he said, his voice seething with venom. He was shaking now, the anger pouring off him in waves. Fine, but don't come crawling to me when she destroys everything. Don't blame me when this family falls apart because of her? He turned on his heel without waiting for a response, storming out of the room with Heather trailing behind him. The door slammed so hard it shook the walls. The silence that followed felt like a heavy weight pressing down on my chest. I couldn't breathe for a moment, too stunned to process what had just happened. I stood there, still trying to make sense of it. The family, fractured in ways I didn't even understand, had made their choice. I'd won. And yet, I didn't feel victorious. I felt numb. I glanced over at Mom and Dad. They were standing there, just as stunned as I was. There were no more words to say. They'd said their piece, and I'd said mine. Finally, Mom wiped at her eyes, sniffling. I'm sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. Don't be, I said, my voice catching in my throat. This isn't your fault. I'm just tired of pretending. I'm tired of being invisible. Dad squeezed my shoulder again, a silent reassurance. He didn't need to say anything else. We'd crossed some kind of line, some kind of threshold, and for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I wasn't invisible anymore. But as I looked at the empty doorway where Todd had just stormed out, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that what had just happened was only the beginning. The house felt emptier now. Todd's departure left a hole in the space, a kind of vacuum that sucked up everything that had been so loud and chaotic before. The quiet was deafening. Mom sat on the couch, her head in her hands, her shoulders shaking with soft sobs. Dad was pacing, rubbing his temple like he had a headache he couldn't get rid of. I felt a knot tighten in my chest, watching them both. But I didn't know how to fix it. I wasn't sure it was fixable. I'm sorry, Mom said between sniffles, her voice barely a whisper. I didn't see it. I didn't see how much you've been doing for us. I thought you were just, I don't know, making things harder. Mom, no, I said, sitting down next to her. I wasn't angry anymore. Not like I had been with Todd. This was different. I wasn't fighting anymore. I didn't make things harder. I didn't want to see you lose everything. So I kept it from you. She wiped her eyes and nodded, still shaking her head. I always assumed you were the one causing problems. You know, with your divorce and everything else, I thought you were just stuck. And I didn't see what you were really doing. Dad stopped pacing and sat down beside us, his hand reaching out to touch Mom's. He looked at me, his face lined with years of regret and confusion. You were always there, he said softly. And we never noticed. We never saw how much you were holding up. I'm sorry, kiddo. You didn't deserve any of that. Not from us. I swallowed hard, trying not to let the tears in my eyes show. This was the first time I felt like they were seeing me, really seeing me, and it hit harder than I expected. I wasn't angry anymore. I was just tired. Tired of pretending I wasn't invisible. Tired of feeling like I was constantly fighting for a place in this family that never seemed to have room for me. I did what I had to do, I said, trying to make my voice sound calm. But I'm not your punching bag anymore, Mom. I'm not going to keep fixing everything and pretending like it's okay. I know, she said, her voice thick with emotion. I'm sorry. I don't know what we were thinking. We all sat in silence for a while, letting the weight of everything sink in. The past year, the mistakes, the misunderstandings, it was all laid out between us, raw and uncomfortable. But there was a shift in the air, a quiet kind of understanding. Maybe we weren't fixed, not by a long shot, but this was a start. My phone buzzed in my pocket, pulling me from the moment. I pulled it out, expecting a message from someone else, but no, it was from Todd. I stared at the screen, almost laughing at the timing. I didn't want to look at it, but I couldn't stop myself. You've ruined my life. This is on you. I hope you're proud of yourself. Don't ever contact me again. My stomach twisted, but I didn't feel the old anger rising. I just felt exhausted. The words on the screen didn't have the power to affect me anymore. They were just noise. His tantrums were just that. His problems, not mine. I wasn't going to engage. I set the phone down without responding, sliding it out of sight. We'll figure this out, I said, glancing at Mom and Dad. It's not going to be easy, but we're family. We can heal, even if it takes time. Dad nodded slowly. You're right, it's not going to be easy. But I think we can try. I wasn't sure if it would be enough, but for the first time in a long time, I felt like I wasn't alone in the fight. I didn't know what the future held or if Todd would ever come back around. But whatever happened, I knew that this time I wasn't invisible anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. A few weeks passed, and things felt quieter. Mom and Dad had made their peace with everything, but the air still felt heavy, like we were all holding our breath. It was awkward, but we were trying. We talked more than we ever had, but there was always this tension lingering, like we were waiting for something to break again. Then, one evening, my phone buzzed. I didn't recognize the number, but when I looked at it, my stomach dropped. It was Todd. I didn't want to pick up. I'd spent the last few weeks not even thinking about him, moving on from all the chaos he'd caused. But my finger moved without me thinking, and I pressed answer. Todd? I said, trying to keep the tone neutral. Hey, he said, his voice sounding different, softer. It threw me off. It's me. I wanted to talk. I took a deep breath, unsure of where this was going. About what? About everything, he said, and there was a pause. Like he was working up the courage to say it. I was wrong. About you. About the house. About how I treated everyone. I'm sorry, okay? I was just so focused on what I thought was best for everyone, I never stopped to think about what you needed. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to lash out, to tell him he couldn't just waltz in here with an apology and think it would fix everything. But then I realized that was exactly what I'd been waiting for, a sign that he saw what he'd done. I never meant to hurt you, Todd continued, and I definitely didn't mean to push you out. Heather and I, we found a house we can afford. We don't need to sell Mom and Dad's place anymore. I know I fucked up, but I'm trying to make things right. I'm asking if we can start over, if you'll let me make amends. There it was, the humility in his voice that I'd never thought I'd hear. He sounded human, not like the arrogant, entitled brother I'd spent years resenting. And yet, hearing him admit all of that didn't erase the damage. It didn't undo the years of feeling overlooked, of feeling like I didn't matter unless it fit into his perfect life. I let his words hang in the air, weighing on me. I wasn't ready to forgive him. I wasn't ready to pretend like everything was fine. But I also wasn't going to hold on to the anger anymore. Look, I said, my voice steady, I'm not going to forgive you right away. It's not that easy, but I'm willing to try. We can meet, talk about it. But you have to do something for me first. What's that? Todd asked, his tone more cautious now. You need to apologize to Mom and Dad, properly. You need to own what you did, not just to me, but to them too. If you're serious about making this right, that's the first step. Not just a sorry, but actually owning up to it. There was a long pause, and I could almost feel the wheels turning in his head. I wasn't going to let him off the hook that easily. Yeah, he finally said, sounding almost defeated. Okay, I'll do that, I promise. We can meet, I'll make it right. For real this time. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. We'll see. Just don't expect everything to go back to normal right away. Fair enough, he said, his voice quieter now. I just want to try, that's all. I didn't hang up right away. I wasn't sure what was next, but for the first time in a long time, I wasn't shutting him out completely. Maybe that was enough for now. Okay, I said finally. We'll talk soon. But remember what I said? I will. Thanks, Todd replied. And for the first time, I actually believed he meant it. I hung up sitting in the quiet of the room, letting the conversation sink in. It wasn't an instant fix. I wasn't expecting everything to be okay tomorrow or even next week, but something had shifted. He'd started to see me. Maybe this family, broken as it was, could heal. It wasn't going to be easy, but there was still hope. And that's all I had left to hold on to. A month passed and things were still awkward. Not every conversation felt right, and sometimes the silence between us was louder than the words we exchanged. But there was something different now. The tension that had been there for years, the way Todd dominated everything, had started to fade. The healing had begun. Todd came over to Mom and Dad's place a few days ago. He actually apologized to them. Not just a quick sorry, but a real apology. He admitted what he'd done, about pushing them aside, about not listening. It wasn't perfect, and I could see the cracks in his words, but it was a start. It felt like the first real moment where he wasn't trying to control everything. He and Heather found a house they could afford, and they moved in. No more talk about selling Mom and Dad's house. No more big plans for their perfect little suburban life. They were settled, and for the first time, I wasn't competing with him anymore. It wasn't about who had more money or who made the bigger splash. I had my own life now. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I had earned this place, earned my own voice. And for the first time in years, it felt like I wasn't invisible anymore. Dad's health had improved too. The weight he'd been carrying around seemed to lift just a little bit. He wasn't as tired all the time, and even though he wasn't bouncing around like he used to, there was something lighter about him. Maybe it was the absence of that constant pressure, the stress of trying to please everyone. Maybe it was just time. One evening, the three of us sat on the porch, watching the sun set behind the trees. Mom had made a fresh batch of lemonade, and we were all a little quieter than usual, just taking in the stillness of the moment. Dad cleared his throat after a while. You know, he said slowly, I never thought we'd get here. After everything that's happened, I didn't think I'd see a time when it wasn't just one big mess. I nodded, feeling that familiar burn of emotion. Yeah, but maybe it doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe we just needed to be. Mom looked at both of us, a small smile tugging at her lips. I've spent so much of my life worrying about keeping up appearances. Maybe I've missed the point all along. I looked at her, feeling the weight of it all shift. It wasn't about money or houses or having it all. It was about being there when it counted. When the world falls apart and there's no one left to rely on, it's about showing up. And for the first time, I knew that's what I had done. I had shown up. I felt Dad's hand on my shoulder again, steady and warm. You've earned my respect, kid, he said, his voice rough but sincere. More than I ever realized. I met his eyes and didn't need to say anything. I felt it. I knew it. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't fighting to be seen. I wasn't pushing for approval. I wasn't scrambling for a place in this family. And as I sat there with them, feeling the warmth of the evening air, I realized that success wasn't about how much money you made or how big your house was. It was about being there for the people you loved, especially when they needed you the most. It was about the moments like this, quiet, simple, unspoken, that meant more than anything. Maybe things wouldn't ever be perfect. Maybe we'd always have some cracks, but at least we had a foundation now, and that was enough.